Hello and welcome to the Finance Quarter. I'm Andrew Robertson. Credit card security has been a big issue since the advent of the internet more than a decade ago. Recent major breaches involving Sony PlayStation and the Commonwealth Bank have highlighted just how vulnerable our credit card details are in cyberspace. With internet shopping growing exponentially, how can we keep our credit cards and, more importantly, our money safe? Well, a man who has some answers is Tommy Viljoen, and he's the Risk Services Partner at Deloitte. Tommy, we've heard in recent weeks the high-profile fraud cases involving Sony PlayStation and the Commonwealth Bank. Just how safe or unsafe are our credit cards?
Really good question, Andrew. I think we need to put this into perspective. If we look at the statistics which came out recently from the likes of the Australian Payments Clearance Association, it shows that 35 cents in every $1,000 might be fraudulent. So it's a small amount in the total volume of transactions that occur from an online business, from an online point of view or a card payment point of view. So I think you need to just keep in perspective there are also protection, there's a certain amount of protection for individuals, but I think companies need to be quite concerned about the levels that we're at the moment.
So from what you've just said with those figures of 35 cents in every $1,000, you can be reasonably confident when you use your credit card to make an online payment that it will be safe?
Well, I think there's precautions you can take that will reduce the vulnerability that you face. Just bear in mind that most of the banks, or all the banks, if you have put the right security in place and taken the right precautions, will honour the actual payment that's been made, and if there has been fraud, will refund that amount to you. So the banks have come to the party from that perspective in Australia.
So can we just rely on the bank?
Absolutely not.
What should we be doing to try and protect ourselves?
As I'm a credit card holder, you're a credit card holder, we need to be cautious. I think there are a number of things that you can do in terms of protecting yourself. I think the first thing is keep the credit card on yourself. Don't let it out of your sight. Don't hand it over to someone who will then take it away and do things to it. Watch what's happening with it. I think a number of other precautions are things like signing up to certain security features that the banks have got. So they'll allow you to sign up, and what happens then if you're working with a particular merchant and you're trying to acquire something online, that merchant will verify that you're who you say you are, and the bank will tell the merchant that the transaction can go ahead. So you might get a PIN from the bank and you have to enter the PIN, or you'll see something online which tells you that you're dealing with a reputable merchant. Take advantage of those sort of features. Another thing is keep your computer security up to date. It's absolutely crucial that you're using secure online channels, whether it's a phone or a computer or an iPad or whatever it might be. Make sure that the security is intact.
One thing many of us don't do is change our PIN numbers regularly. How important is that?
Well, I think the latest couple of attacks, what I've heard from individuals who have been caught out, is that they've had to go and change their password and PINs on a number of different accounts because they've been using the same PIN or the same password. Now that's really dangerous, because if a hacker gets your information on one account and you're using that same password or PIN on your bank account, you could be in serious trouble. And those sort of things the banks wouldn't be looking to protect you against. So change those PINs, change those passwords, and don't use the same password across all your online accounts.
But despite that, going back to your first answer, 35 cents in every $1,000.
I think you're pretty safe in Australia if you take the right precautions and sign up to the security that's available to you.
The Australian economy is undergoing structural change on a number of fronts, not least of which is manufacturing. According to the latest statistics, the number of people working in manufacturing is the lowest since records began in 1966. But it's not all doom and gloom, as I discovered on a visit to the industrial heartland of Sydney. This is Ingleburn in Sydney's southwest. It's home to many factories feeling the heat from China and the high Australian dollar. But in true Aussie tradition, they're fighting back as hard as they can. One of those is Plasbox Manufacturing. It's been making packaging products for 26 years, and Director Victor Sherry says he's had to adapt to the much tougher trading environment.
Our major strategy is raw material prices and improving our own manufacturing practices, whether it's including new robots or changing the way we do things.
On the other side of Sydney, in the beachside suburb of Brookvale, Marden Manufacturing is also fighting back by lifting its game.
My strategy is to offer quality. You must offer quality and also customer service, and look after my domestic customers here quickly and with the best possible product.
Although the manufacturing environment is tough, James Scott believes Australian firms have a card up their sleeve that cheap imported goods can't match.
Well, I think people still want to buy Australian. They want to try and buy Australia and do the right thing, but also I think Australian products generally are pretty good.
When you think of manufacturing on a global scale, no country does it better than Germany, which is home to many of the world's top high-end manufacturing brands. Albert Goller is the Australian head of one of those brands, Siemens, and he has some very forthright views on Australian manufacturing.
Overall, I would say the biggest challenge I see is that we in decline in terms of productivity. The manufacturing area, I think 1.8% over the last years, and that's a concern.
But Mr. Goller sees many opportunities for Australian manufacturers to lead the world in the development of new industries, citing solar power as an example.
We have the natural resources because we have the sun, and we have, of course, the land.
2 years ago, Dutch electrical goods maker Philips purchased Sydney-based Dynalite to become the global centre of development and manufacture of its high-end lighting products.
When acquiring this company, we recognised two clear strengths for the sites. One is the R&D capacity of making top-notch products, which is very important for us to differentiate and innovate towards the market. And the other reason is that this manufacturing facility allows us to run small batches with high complexity and high differentiation, which is demanded from our customers.
And Philips sees a bright manufacturing future for Dynalite.
We're planning this year a growth for 25%, and in the next 3 to 5 years we clearly want to triple and even grow the business 5 times as big as it is right now.
But while high-end manufacturers like Philips and Siemens, which can really add value and differentiate themselves from China, are optimistic, at the bottom end it's very different. Back in Ingleburn at Plasbox, Victor Sherry is pessimistic.
This product was manufactured and designed at this site. The downfall to it is that the Chinese copied it within 5-6 months, and they were selling it on the Australian market at 20% of their cost price.
A sign may be of two-speed manufacturing in a two-speed economy. Here's a question for you. How early is too early to start planning for your retirement? Brian Pashley from Canberra has written to us saying he wants to set up a superannuation fund for his 3-month-old granddaughter Abigail so that she'll be well provided for in her old age. Well, I'm sitting with financial planner Damien Cullen. And Damien, is this taking retirement planning to new levels? Can you set up a super fund for a newborn baby?
You certainly can, Andrew. Yeah, it's definitely doable. It's quite easy. You do need to have an adult on the account as a guardian, but it can be done. Whether it's taken to a new level, I think it is. Wouldn't it be an interesting world if we all planned 55, 60 years out? There probably wouldn't be the levels of poverty and troubles in the world that we see today.
Is superannuation the best investment for a miner?
It's certainly a great investment. It's going to be taxed concessionally for a very, very long period of time. There's obviously other issues around home ownership and raising kids, which is a long way away as well for a newborn baby. But super's certainly a great investment. It doesn't matter what the child gets up to, whether they turn out to be a real partier and blow other money that they may have been given by grandparents. They know that the grandparents know that money will be there when they turn 55 or 60 or 65, so it's a fantastic thing to have for them. Of course, the amazing powers of compound interest will certainly increase the value of that money enormously over the period too.
A point you touched on in that answer, of course, is that you can't access superannuation until you reach the preservation age of 55 or even 60.
That's right, yeah, it's going to be tied up. Usually till the age of 60. You can get it at 55, but at 60 you can get that money tax-free.
The downside, of course, is that Abigail, when she's a young adult, could find herself in a situation where on one hand she wants to buy a house and is struggling to find the money, and on the other hand she's got a large amount of money locked up in superannuation.
That's true. That's one of the dilemmas, and it's very hard to know what the best thing is to do there. But I guess the grandparents giving the child some money means that they know that's not going to be affected by any estate problems that could arise in the future.
So all in all, is super a good strategy for someone as young as Abigail?
I think it's good, yeah. It'd be great to see people doing that and looking after their kids over that very, very long period of time, because the returns will compound to be great.
Damien Cullen, thank you very much for your time.
No problem, Andrew.
The real driver of growth in superannuation is the power of compound interest, which is why getting into super early makes such good sense. For example, assuming baby Abigail works till she's 65, $1,000 invested today, earning an annual interest rate of, say, 7% a year, will be worth $81,000 in 2076. Now, if that interest rate is 10% a year, that $1,000 turns into nearly $500,000. And on that score, if you're a young adult just starting out in the workforce, the federal government's superannuation co-contribution is a terrific way to turbocharge your super. If you earn $31,920 a year or less and you contribute an extra $1,000 to your superannuation fund, the government will match it dollar for dollar. Once again, thanks to compounding, that $2,000 at the end of your working life, which is, say, 40 years, will be worth $30,000 if you're getting an interest rate of 7%. If that interest rate is 10% a year, that $2,000 will become a whopping $91,000 after 40 years. You'd only have to make the extra contributions for a few years to be talking about big money when you retire. The government will pay a reduced super co-contribution up to an income of $61,000 a year. It's the best investment in town, but the real challenge is trying to persuade short-term focused young people to take a long-term view of their lives. That's it for another edition of the Finance Quarter. If you'd like to see any part of the program again, you can find us on the ABC News website. Just go to the business page and click on the Finance Quarter icon. If you have a question about money or business, we'd love to hear from you. Our email address is thefinancequarter@your.abc.net.au. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time on the Finance Quarter.